Hello and welcome to At the Leadership Table with retired Major General Jim Hoyer. Oftentimes people hear the word leader and they think only of political leaders, but leaders come in many forms, and that's worth exploring. I'm Jim Hoyer, born and raised in West Virginia, a husband, a father, a new grandfather, and a retired military leader, serving for over 40 years in public leadership for our state and nation. Now, the most important mission I have going forward is to educate, motivate, and empower our next generation of leaders. At the leadership table with us today is Alex Petry. Alex is the executive director for Main Street Fairmont. Alex is a Marion County native who is working to revitalize downtown Fairmont and build the next generation of economic opportunities in Fairmont and Marion County, which has a rich and deep history in north central West Virginia. Alex, we thank you for your work in creating the next generation of opportunities in Fairmont, north central West Virginia, and greater West Virginia. And thank you for joining us at the leadership table today.
Absolutely. I appreciate the kind introduction, and I thank you all for welcoming me on today.
So, Alex, going to start out by asking you the same first question we ask all of our guests. Please share with us a standout moment when you learned something really important about leadership.
Yeah, so, one of the biggest ways that I have to show leadership in my role, my executive director role, is through fundraising. So at the beginning of each year, those first couple months of the year, I want to say maybe January through March, a large portion of that time is spent, securing the resources that kind of allow our organization to function and deliver the programming that we deliver. It's literally what keeps us alive. We don't have secured funding every year. All of that work is done, like I said, those first 3 to 4 months of the year. Last year, 2025, was a very challenging year for fundraising across the board. A lot of organizations were feeling that pressure, and it kind of forced me to think differently about how we were going to approach that and secure the funding that we needed. So instead of focusing heavily on, trying to bring in a lot of new sponsors, I kind of made an intentional decision to go deeper with the partners and the relationships that we already had and those who believed in what we were doing. And that kind of meant more than just asking for increased support. It meant really, bringing them into the work that we were doing. So I had, some honest, transparent conversations about our needs, but also about their goals and what they wanted to see in our community of downtown Fairmont. And, one of the biggest shifts we made was empowering those sponsors to be leaders within our organization. We invited them to have a voice, to have creative control, and, kind of help shape some of the programming that they were supporting. So, kind of by giving them that sense of ownership, showing them that they weren't just funders, but actually partners of the work that we were doing, we were able to strengthen those relationships in a meaningful way. And we actually saw 67% of our existing sponsors and partners increase their contributions. And last year, we were still able to see a 10% year over year increase in corporate giving, despite, a really, really, really tough year for sponsorship. And, that experience really stuck with me as a leadership moment. It kind of reinforced that, leadership isn't always about going out and finding something new. It's about, building trust, empowering the people who are already with you, around you, and kind of creating a space for others to lead alongside you.
Yeah, that's some great insight. So, Alex, Main Streets are a reflection of the identity and energy of the community. And across Appalachia, many communities are trying to balance their rich history with changing economics, as well as looking to and building the next generation of the community. Uh, Tell us how Fairmont and Main Street Fairmont approach that challenge and opportunity.
So I would say we, we at Main Street Fairmont, we try to approach that balance by understanding that honoring history uh, and building for the future, they're not really opposing ideas. They actually depend on each other. Um, Fairmont specifically has a very, very deep identity tied to industry, food traditions, you know, neighborhood pride. We have a very, very rich Italian heritage in Fairmont. And we never want our revitalization efforts to feel like they're replacing history or like that didn't exist. Instead, we try to build on top of that and reinterpret it, for that new generation. And a great example of how we approach that is with our events. Something like the Feast of the Seven Fishes Festival, which is going into its 20th year this year. It's rooted in generations of Italian American heritage that are, like I said, very deeply connected and rooted in our identity. At the same time, we also have worked to create new traditions, like with our hometown markets, public art projects, the Frankenstein Festival, which is going into its third year. And with those events, we kind of try to, I like to call this period as, downtown Fairmont's Renaissance. So I kind of feel like we're creating a new energy. We're attracting younger audiences, and, we're supporting more of that like modern entrepreneurship. And we also see that balance in the businesses that we support. Many of the entrepreneurs participating in our markets, last year we had over 200 small businesses that participated with us. They're home-based businesses. A lot of those include people who have been impacted from the decline of the coal and the manufacturing industry in the state. In many ways, I feel like we're trying to help write that next chapter of Appalachia's story while still respecting the people and the industries that built these communities in the first place.
So you talked about Frankenstein Festival, hometown
Mm-hmm.
markets, Feast of the Seven Fishes, and how you're looking at those as not just honoring history, but also the future. So how do you mark the success of those, and what have you seen in each of those as far as growth over the years?
Yeah, one of the most rewarding parts of this job has seen a lot of those things that you just mentioned evolve from like ideas on paper to real tangible events that are happening in the community. When we first started making an effort about 5 or 6 years ago to really expand our programming, the goal was simply to bring more positive energy, new life, more foot traffic back into downtown Fairmont. And we've seen that support grow, not only in attendance, but far beyond that. Our local downtown businesses now plan around these events. And, you know, many community organizations want to collaborate. We've partnered up with other corporate agencies on most of these events. And, Frankenstein, for example, it already feels like it's very ingrained into what we do here, and it's part of downtown's identity. And the evolution of the feast is probably one of the best examples of that growth. We're now heading into the 20th year of that festival, so this is going to be a big one. And that festival, when it started 20 years ago, it was just one block of the street on Monroe Street downtown. celebrating our Italian heritage. And it has grown exponentially. Now it's not just the feast. Now it is a 2 weekend celebration that we now call the hometown holiday celebration. And it happens over multiple different segments of our downtown, not just that one block street.
Mm-hmm.
It's a multiple block event. And it has 5 major events. So we now have the Christmas tree lighting ceremony, the downtown green space light show in Christmas Village, our Festival Cucina Cooking School, which actually happens at Fairmont State, the hometown Christmas market, and the feast itself. So we've wanted to work and turn that into not just kind of a local event that happens in Fairmont, but really like a regional destination.
Mm-hmm.
And, similarly with, the hometown markets in Frankenstein. Frankenstein, we decided we were going to do it in August of 2024. And we made it happen in October, and it came together so fast, and it went so well and was such a big success. And now we have an entire year to plan this every year. And yeah, so things have gone great with those events specifically. With our holiday programming last year, we drew nearly 15,000 visitors downtown, and we were able to bring in over $150,000 across the board to our vendors.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot more than just getting folks to come to our events.
So events that honor the past can be economic drivers for the future.
Absolutely. We've worked really hard to just build upon that tradition.
So there was an article in Fairmont News where you noted that adapting to community needs and feedback have aided in Main Street Fairmont's success. Tell us a little bit about how, from a leadership role, you look at that feedback and take on that listening to become more effective at improving economic opportunities for Main Street Fairmont.
Yeah. So successful downtown development, in my opinion, cannot be one size fits all. Every community has its own identity, challenges, priorities. So listening to the community has to be at the center of everything you do. And we definitely have our own unique challenges here in Fairmont. We also have a lot of challenges that most all communities are dealt with. But a lot of the growth and momentum that we've seen has come directly from, being willing to adapt and change and come up with new ideas and listening to community feedback, whether it's our residents, whether it's our business owners, our vendors, our sponsors, visitors, local visitors and visitors from outside of the area. We try to consistently ask questions, listen carefully, and we try our best not to become rigid. And we want to evolve. We work really hard every year to make changes. We don't want to stay the same. And that feedback that we get, it shows up in both the big picture planning and the small details. As an example, many of our event expansions and adjustments have come directly from, just little small conversations with our downtown businesses. We've, adapted our event layouts, added new programming, expanded partnerships, created new experience just because folks told us what they would like to see downtown. And if someone approaches us and tells us that they'd like to see something change, we try our best to see if we can make that happen. So yeah, I think as a Main Street professional, listening to your community's feedback on what you're doing should be one of your top priorities.
So, Alex, what events do you have coming up this summer that you'd want listeners to be aware of and be interested in taking part in?
Yeah, so it all kicks off not this weekend, but next weekend. We start our hometown market series for the summer, and that it happens on the third Saturday of each month. So starting on May 16th, we have Music on Monroe, our hometown market, Music on Monroe. It'll be kind of the kickoff to the season. We've got a few local musicians who are going to perform. Then on June 20th, in partnership with Fairmont Pride, we have the Pride Block Party. On July 18th, in partnership with Elevate Therapy Center, we are hosting Feast in July. And that one's actually, they're all 10 to 2 p.m., 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., but this one's going to be special. It's going to be 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And instead of being on Monroe Street, we have gotten permission from the West Virginia DOH to close off Adams Street. So our main street going through downtown Fairmont. And that's going to be a little bit of a preview of what we do for the feast in December. And then August 15th, we have, in partnership with the Marion County Master Gardeners and Mansion Injury Law, we have the annual Tomato Festival. And then on September 19th, we have, in partnership with Fairmont State University, hometown market Falcon Takeover. And, that's our summer lineup. But, going even further, we've got our dates for everything. October 24th, we're going to have the third annual Frankenstein Craft Beer and Hot Dog Festival. That's in partnership with the Marion County Chamber of Commerce. And then starting November 28th, going through December 12th, we have all of our Christmas festivities kicking off and happening. So
Very good. Sounds like a busy year coming up. And
extremely busy.
Last question. What advice would you give to someone who wants to support their local Main Street community but doesn't know where to start?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is just show up. There are so many, you don't have to do anything huge. Some of the most impactful things to make a difference in your community are the simplest things that you can do. So, like I said, show up, attend an event, walk through downtown, visit a small business, grab a coffee. We have 3 coffee shops downtown. Share a post on Facebook from a community organization. I think those small actions go a long way. And, before you know it, you could end up as the Main Street director, like what happened to me. So yeah, I think the way to make the biggest impact is just to start small, and just support what's going on in your community.
Well, very good. And Alex, I appreciate your work and your efforts to make Fairmont, Marion County, and North Central West Virginia achieve full success and be a better place. And I appreciate you taking the time to join us at the leadership table today.
Absolutely. I thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thanks for listening. This has been At the Leadership Table with retired Major General Jim Hoyer. Did you know you can now find me on social media at RMG Hoyer? That's HOYER, or email me at rmgjameshoyer@gmail.com.